Broadcasting live on YouTube, Facebook, and X. Here's your host, Andrew Romanella.
Okay? Like, just get the hell out of here. Nobody cares what you think if you're not a Mets fan.
What's going on, everybody? Welcome in to another edition of the Rome Show, broadcasting live on YouTube, Twitter, X, and Instagram. I'm your host, Andrew Romanella. I got you for the next 20 minutes or so. It's a shortened Thursday show today. It is January 29th, 2026. As I mentioned on Tuesday, for the next month, our Tuesday and our Thursday shows will start roughly around 6:45, as I got to get out of here at 7:15 so I can go get the boys better at baseball. But that doesn't mean we're still not here for you to give you all of the latest and the most colorful opinions on the topics of sports. We got today some more on the Bill Belichick situation. If you don't remember, Rome Show podcast, wherever you listen to your podcast, we talked about Bill Belichick not being a first ballot Hall of Famer yesterday. Well, Tom Brady came out and had some stuff to say about, as did Robert Kraft, as did some of the voters who hold a vote for the National Football League Hall of Fame. In basketball, Giannis Antetokounmpo's 12-year run with the Milwaukee Bucks that included 2 MVPs and a 2021 championship may be coming to an end. There are a few suitors that are the most likely destinations for Giannis, and we will discuss that. And finally, the New York Yankees have had by the standards of their fans, a very quiet offseason. Well, Cashman came out yesterday along with Aaron Boone to make a few comments that, if we have time, I need to get into, because I found it very interesting. Best way I could put it. Very interesting. So that's everything on the docket today. If you want to get in on the action, youtube.com/the Romanellas. That's youtube.com/the Romanellas. You can join in like our friend Megan from Down Under, who writes in, "Let's go Yankees." Good morning, Megan. On your 4-hour, or excuse me, what is that? A 14-hour? What, how many hours of a time change is that? That's wild, but I hope you're enjoying your nighttime version of the Rome Show. Let's get started with Bill Belichick and the lack of voting him into the Hall of Fame. Just to give you a quick synopsis on where we're at with this. The whole synopsis is on Rome Show podcast, wherever you get your podcast. But Bill Belichick, on his first term on the Hall of Fame ballot, the greatest coach of all time, 333 wins, including the playoffs, 6 Super Bowls, 9 Super Bowl appearances. Bill Belichick was left off the first ballot of the Hall of Fame. And there has been a lot of controversy that is potentially surrounding this lack thereof voting into the Hall of Fame. A few people came out yesterday in defense of Bill Belichick, including Tom Brady, which I thought was absolutely gigantic. Tom Brady pretty much had this to say. I don't understand it. Said Brady, who played under Belichick for 20 seasons. I mean, I was with him every day. If he's not a first ballot Hall of Famer, there's really no coach that should ever be a first ballot Hall of Famer. Completely ridiculous. People deserve it. He's incredible, Brady continued. There's no coach I'd rather play for. If I'm picking one coach to go out there to win a Super Bowl, give me one season, I'm taking Bill Belichick. So that's enough said. Before we hear from Robert Kraft, owner of the Patriots, and one of the voters of the Hall of Fame. What Tom Brady just said right there, I think, is everything you need to realize on how messed up this situation is. Because, and when I get to the Rob Kraft comments, you'll feel the same way. Because all we've heard for the last 4 years is that the relationship between Tom Brady and Bill Belichick, the relationship between Robert Kraft and Bill Belichick is completely broken. The relationship almost doesn't exist. You would almost be surprised on what they accomplished for 20 seasons together with what their relationship looks like today. So when you have a situation at hand where the last 2 years of Bill Belichick's reputation have been going down the hill, okay, and the reputation of Tom Brady, though always good, has continued to climb because of his on-television appearance and just his natural nature of being Tom Brady, you wondered what was going to happen yesterday when this situation occurred. And then you have the greatest quarterback of all time, one of the greatest NFL owners of all time, come out and completely defend Bill Belichick. And Tom Brady did choose one season to go win a Super Bowl. And it wasn't with Bill Belichick. He literally chose to go to Tampa Bay. Obviously, maybe not fully his choice, but the point being, he went to Tampa Bay for a chance to win one more Super Bowl. And he did that with Bruce Arians. And he's still sitting here to this moment, regardless of their relationship, regardless of their disagreements or how it ended or how it's going. And he's sitting here and he's saying, as the greatest quarterback of all time, who did win a Super Bowl with 2 different coaches, who did make the decision to go for essentially, I know it was multiple years, but essentially 1 year. This is our one shot. Let's go win a Super Bowl before Tom Brady retires. He did it and succeeded, and he's still choosing Bill Belichick. That's everything you need to know right there. So that's one side of the coin. Then you have the former owner of the New England Patriots, who we've talked about a lot, being somebody that does not necessarily have a relationship at all with Bill Belichick right now, which is absolutely asinine. Okay? But Bobby Kraft comes out and he says this: whatever perceptions may exist about my differences between Bill and me, I strongly believe Bill Belichick's record and body of work speak for themselves. 333, specifically 31 playoff wins, most all time. Andy Reid is second with 28. 6 Super Bowls, most all time. 9 Super Bowls appearances, most all time. I strongly believe Bill Belichick's resume and body of work speak for themselves, Kraft said. As a head coach of the New England Patriots for more than 2 decades, he set the standard for on-field excellence, preparation, and sustained success in the free agency and salary cap era of the NFL. He's the greatest coach of all time and unequivocally deserves to be a unanimous first ballot Hall of Famer. As the defense of Bill Belichick continued, the Hall of Fame actually had to make a statement. Here's the statement from Canton, Ohio, and the National Football League Hall of Fame, which, by the way, tells you that this situation has gone ridiculously awry. There's no Hall of Fame voting scenario where the Hall of Fame, not just Canton, Major League Baseball in Cooperstown, whatever the case is, wherever the NHL one is, Toronto, wherever the NBA one is, whatever the case is, no Hall of Fame should ever have to issue a statement on their own Hall of Fame class unless they really mess something up. And so Canton comes out yesterday and like, well, hold on a second here. There's so much outcrying and backlash on this. Do we need to look at something? Here's what they said. The Pro Football Hall of Fame understands and respects passionate reaction of many fans, media members, and enshrinees of the hall itself in light of published reports regarding the voting results for the class of 2026. It's that very passion that propels the game. The hall also respects the members of the selection committee when they follow the selection process bylaws. It is an honor to serve as a selector. Each year, the hall reviews the selection process and the composition of the 50-person selection committee. It is determined that any member that violated the selection process bylaws, they understand action will be taken. That could include the possibility such selectors would not remain a member of the committee moving forward. The selection of a new class is the most important duty of the Hall of Fame oversees each year, and the integrity of that process cannot be questioned. Well, newsflash, Canton, Ohio, the integrity of that process is being questioned, okay? And that's all you need, because we can disagree with someone getting into the hall. We can think that it took somebody too long to get into the Hall of Fame. Hell, we can even disagree with the voting bylaws that cause somebody to either choose to not vote for Bill Belichick or choose to vote for someone else because you have to take a vote from someone else to give the vote to someone else, if that makes any sense. It could be a plethora of reasons why people don't like the class going into a Hall of Fame, but it can't be this. Because with some of these rumors, you got to know there's some truth to it. Now, Bill Polian came out yesterday and said, I didn't say anything about Bill Belichick, having to be reprimanded before getting into the Hall for what he did with Spygate and yada, yada, yada. He said, but I did hear some other people talking about it. All right, this is over then. The Hall of Fame should now step in and say, okay, here's the deal. We clearly messed this thing up. We got some losers in the room that really have the wrong perception of what their job is here. You're not the gatekeeper of moral values. You're the gatekeeper of who played better professional football or not. Like, let's not get it twisted. You're the writer for a newspaper or an online site, and I'm not discrediting that as a job. It's the opposite. That's a legitimate job. You have pull. People are going to listen to you. You don't deserve this gatekeeping opportunity. You don't deserve, as a writer of anything anymore, to be the primary gatekeepers of a sacred place. What about broadcasters? What about the guys that are actually calling the game in the production meetings that most likely aren't creating bad relationships with the players because they're not reporting on the players, they're calling the game? Personally, I think that every Hall of Fame committee should only be made up of people that are in the Hall of Fame because they are in the Hall of Fame. Their star is in. They got their gold jacket. Their bust is there. So to think, well, I didn't really like that guy, so I'm not going to put him in the Hall of Fame, I think that changes when you've already reached that pinnacle. Now, that's not the answer. I don't know if there really truly is an answer outside of the first step, which is we've got to remove these writers with all their stupid power from the opportunity to vote. I'll finish with this because one of the writers did come out and make a comment or make a few comments yesterday. His name is Armando Salguero, okay? And not only is Armando a voter, I think he's from Outkick NFL. I believe he's the Outkick NFL senior writer. What I noticed about what Armando was saying here was pretty simple, and I'll read the quote in a second. Armando is the guy that essentially presented Bill Belichick to the Hall of Fame committee. So it's almost like your running mate to show people why you deserve to be in the Hall. He said this: they should identify themselves as the people who kept Bill Belichick out of the Pro Football Hall of Fame this year. I am saying that here and would say as much to their face. Their votes sunk Bill Belichick's chances, embarrassed the Hall of Fame in the process. Couldn't agree more. They make all selectors look bad, and they shouldn't hide behind their minority vote to protect themselves at the expense of the wider group. I know it's a wider group because I've spoken with a lot of selectors since our meeting, and they agreed with my vote of Bill Belichick. And that's the final thought here. If you're a dude that truthfully wanted to make the decision to vote against any person that is a clear-cut, obvious first ballot Hall of Famer, baseball, football, hockey, basketball, if you're a voter with that power that decides they want to use that power to hold somebody out of the Hall of Fame or make a decision on morals and values because they think that's their job, they don't deserve to vote. This is not a hall of the greatest human beings on earth. This is a hall of the best athletes in a sport. That's what this hall is. And if we get to the depths of what someone did or didn't do during their career to call it morally great or morally wrong or whatever the case is, we'd have to reevaluate every single entry into the Hall of Fame, any Hall of Fame, since the beginning of time. And I will always use Major League Baseball as the example. But I got to imagine there are other examples in the Pro Football Hall of Fame, okay? One being Ray Lewis. And you might be like, what are you talking about? Well, let's go down memory lane really quickly. Okay. Early on in Ray Lewis's career, when there was a lawsuit or investigation into whether he killed somebody. So we're good, though, because he got off. We're good. The law said he didn't do anything. Whatever came about it legally at that time, we moved on. He's a good football player. Let's move on. We're good. Okay, got it. But then we get 25 years later, and Bill Belichick spied on some signals, and Tom Brady deflated some footballs, all of which came to a head. Bill Belichick served his fine. When it came to Deflategate, it was shown Bill Belichick didn't have anything to do with it. Whether you believe in that or not, doesn't matter. Tom Brady took the heat on that. So Ray Lewis had a checkered past. We're good with him being in the Hall of Fame, though. And now, again, that's just one example, but it's an extreme example. I like Ray Lewis. Innocent until proven guilty. I don't think anything different from him if the justice system did what they're supposed to do. That's not my point, though. My point is, if you have people like that in a Hall of Fame, you can't now turn around and say, morally, we're not going to let that guy in. No, dude. You already ruined that. I always say it all the time. If Babe Ruth is considered the greatest baseball player of all time, then everyone needs to shut their mouth about performance enhancers, performance de-hancers, how you treat people, the way you... No. And I get it. 1918 is different than 2018. I'm not an idiot. But the point is, you can't decide now all of a sudden you care about these things. You can't decide in this moment. I said it with Carlos Beltran. We're good. You cheated this way. But Pete Rose, we're not good that you bet on the game this way, so you're not allowed in, but you're allowed in. When in actuality, you're not even a Hall of Famer, but you are a Hall of Famer. It's ridiculous. All Hall of Fames, seriously, like it's ridiculous how much it needs to be reevaluated. I'm going to reevaluate my second half of this show after the commercial breaks. Stay with us. The Rome Show back after this.
What is one thing every great leader has in common? They challenge their people to not stop at the first right answer. Tighten the Lug Nuts is a leadership book that will teach you how to move past the first right answer with entertaining and detailed examples founded in real-world concepts and experiences. Accelerate towards your professional goals with Tighten the Lug Nuts, one of the best leadership books available.
Yeah, the Rome Show. Welcome back in. January 29th, 2026. Super cold in the state of New Jersey. Megan writes, East Coast bias from writers and media happens to the Seahawks always. It's truthfully, it's a bias. That's the best way to put it, Megan. It's a bias. There's a bias that happens with this voting, and you have to do the best you can to have protocols in place to protect people from that happening. If it does come out that somebody abused their vote just to keep Bill Belichick off because they felt some type of way about whatever happened in his career, they don't deserve to have a vote. Andrew Romanella, the Rome Show. 5 minutes left on this program today as we got some baseball practice to get to. Giannis Antetokounmpo, the star of the Milwaukee Bucks, is most likely going to be on the move. The reports have been coming out for the last few months here, but as we get closer and closer to next month's NBA trade deadline, it is looking like Giannis will no longer suit up in a Milwaukee uniform. There's a few things to know here. Okay, the first one is the four teams that have been linked to Giannis this entire time are the Miami Heat, the Minnesota Timberwolves, the New York Knickerbockers, and the Golden State Warriors. The New York Knicks have been largely at the top of this list for a minute now. I believe Giannis had spoken to the franchise at the start of the season and over the last 5 or 6 months about what the path is, what the future is for him in a Bucks uniform. All of that has led to a lot of conversation about the potential of adding him to the New York Knicks to go alongside Jalen Brunson. The conversation is twofold. The first one is which team is going to be willing to give up enough to just simply activate the trade of Giannis Antetokounmpo. Okay, that's the first thing. Who has enough pieces that they could start that trade with Milwaukee that they get Giannis back? The second part of this is where his contract lies. Giannis on October 1st of 2026, so essentially the beginning of this next season coming up, will started last year on his contract deal or is eligible for the 4-year, $275 million super extension. Okay, so he could either sign the extension on October 1st or play out the 2026-2027 season and become an unrestricted free agent the following summer. So the conversation is twofold. Who the hell even has the pieces that they could potentially trade for Giannis? What does that make their team look like? Like the Knicks are the best example. If you trade Karl Anthony Towns right now, there will be a celebration in the streets of New York City because people don't really believe in Cat right now. His energy level has been great. We've talked about the Knicks a few times on this show and what needs to change to make this Knicks team a true contender in the postseason. Well, you add arguably the best big in the league, brought a notoriously not winning franchise to winning after a 50-year drought. You can live with losing some certain players to put that on your roster, okay? And then you go down the line. There's not a lot of teams that have that capital that can make that move. You know, if you're looking at the Golden State Warriors, you're going to have to probably give up 2 or 3 young players that you like because you're obviously clearly not giving up Curry. Not that that necessarily is what Milwaukee would want anyways. If you're Miami, are you willing to part with Tyler Hero or Bam Adebayo or a combination of like 3 or 4 guys that though Giannis makes your roster in South Florida better, are you actually better because you've lost your depth, which has been a strength of that franchise ever since Eric Spoelstra has been leading the charge. So many questions. But over the next 2 or 3 weeks, this is going to become a really big story, and I am curious to see where he lands. I hope it's the New York Knicks, but I think you might have seen the last game for Giannis in a Bucks uniform. By the way, they are 18-27, good for 12th in the league. When Giannis is not on the floor, Milwaukee has the worst offensive efficiency in the league. When he's on the floor, they're only mid-level, so better, not great. But they are 15-15. So for those doing short math at home, 3-12 without Giannis on the floor and 15-15 with him on the floor. To finish, Brian Cashman came out yesterday, had some quotes for Yankees fans, and I'm going to start with this. I'm going to end with this today, and I'm going to start with it tomorrow because I want to get Rocky's opinion on it. He's joining the show for his rundown. This is what Brian Cashman had to say. We added a lot of weapons at the trade deadline, and they're all finding their proper slots and how to be utilized and deployed. Cashman said during a Wednesday video call to announce the Bellinger signing and also the growing pains of competing in New York arena and exposure to postseason baseball. I've been openly willing to challenge anybody that we don't have championship caliber roster on the team. It's our job to find ways to make it better along the way. Then a double down from Aaron Boone was one series, one make or break is not going to define what we think our capabilities are. Postseason baseball, you have to bring your best baseball every series, Cashman said, and if you don't, you're going home. It doesn't mean we're not capable of great things. We just didn't get a job done against the Blue Jays. Then Boone added, we got beat up in the division round. That doesn't mean it won't go our way the next time. We think we're really good. I'm going to finish the show by saying this. Aaron Boone, Brian Cashman, shut the hell up. Just shut the hell up. I'm going to speak on behalf of every Yankees fan here. Just shut the hell up. No one was asking for you to come into that press conference and try and sell us a bag of goods like I'm a 16-year-old being recruited to play college baseball about how fun the environment is. My guy, you have the 3rd most amount of money payroll spent wise in the league. You probably have the most amount of money in the league. Shut the hell up. You're running the same team back. We're not going into war. How about this line right here? They're all finding their proper slots, how to be utilized and deployed. My guy, we're playing baseball. Shut the hell up. What type of bag of goods are you trying to sell to the Yankees fan? The Yankees fan's not an idiot. They've watched a lot of championships in their lifetime. So as the general manager, do you really think you're going to come out and make some BS line about guys are in their proper slots and all we need to do is deploy them appropriately and then sell me the bag of goods. Well, we did change our roster halfway through last year. What? Like, this is the first time I've openly agreed with any Yankees fan that wants to rip their general manager and what their organization's doing. I agree. I read those comments last night. I said, this is dumb. The fact that he just tried to sell that to the New York media, and you want us to believe that just because we lost the series last year and we didn't do anything to add to our roster, now we can be better. Yeah, in theory, you can be. Of course, teams can get better year over year without necessarily adding more talent. But on paper, if you're a Yankees fan watching this offseason and the Dodgers are always spending, the Mets are always spending, hell, the Phillies and the Red Sox are always in the mix of everything, and you get your general manager saying, well, we feel like all of our players from last year are now in the proper slots, so we're going to deploy them into battle the right way so they can be a good baseball team. Stop. I got more in-depth info for my Division III college baseball team than I do for what Brian Cashman gave the Yankees and the Yankees fan base. Speaking of that Division III baseball program, I got to get the hell out of here so I can get those guys on the practice field. Thank you for tuning in to the Rome Show here on a Thursday. Megan, I appreciate you. She did right, by the way. I want to get this in before I leave. It's BS. Said with love as a 30-plus year Yankees fan from Australia. Megan, make sure you're here tomorrow because we're going to go even deeper into this Yankees situation, including what their current roster looks like. Thank you to Megan, who always tunes in. She's the best. Have a good night's sleep. Enjoy Australia. Enjoy the rest of your day. Might I say, I hope it's an electric one. Andrew Romanella will be back tomorrow. Later. Oh, wait. Peace.
Thank you for listening.